Good evening, everyone. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Finance for March 4th, 2026 to order. I'm Mike Anderson, Chair. Dan Smith, the Vice Chair, is going to be absent tonight. I'm going to appoint Ed in his stead. I believe we have, can we see who's on there at all? Well, we have Carl Johnson, alternate, Lou Gingerella, and I'm pretty sure that Winona Burdine and Gary Nino are going to be on either the Zoom and or I see Winona's on. So she is here. And I'm not sure if Gary's calling in or. Well, I'll see Lou until Gary gets here, and I think Sarah's going to be here soon, so we're going to, not Lou, I mean Carl.
Yeah. Same good luck. Same good luck.
And we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. John Murphy has the floor.
I just had
Make sure you speak right into the mic.
just had a couple comments that I wanted to make. I have in front of me an old budget for year ending June 30th, 2019. And on that front cover, it has a footnote with a pound sign that says line item not to be modified without Board of Finance authorization. And that footnote was put on every salary line within the budget. The budgets after that did not have that. It was removed by Selectman Ergo and our admin finance officer at that time, allowing them to make changes mid-year without breaking any rule that was approved on the budget. So I'd like to bring that to your attention and ask that you do, someone took that authority away from the Board of Finance. And I think the Board of Finance should regain that so that salaries aren't changed mid-year without you knowing about it. And ideally, any salary increase would occur with the budget. So the townspeople are approving those increases. And so why I'm bringing this up is later on, you'll have a budget presentation tonight. And there have been some mid-year increases to salaries, and which will affect the numbers going obviously in, for this year, coming year, and also for the subsequent years. And Bob will explain it to you. A salary survey was done. But this salary survey conflicts, in my opinion, with the union negotiation. That took into consideration things other than salary, the percentage somebody's contributing to healthcare, the number of holidays they have, the number of, paid vacation time and so forth. And the working conditions are part of it. This is North Stonington, We know there's a certain advantage to working in a small town in North Stonington versus in a larger town or whatever. But I'd like you to regain this authority because it's going to affect your budget for next year. By statute, bargaining agreements have to go to the legislative body for approval. And what was done is a memorandum of understanding that tags on that bargaining agreement. Whereas the bargaining agreement was probably approved by the Board of Selectmen. The MOU that was done on this occasion was not approved by the Board of Selectmen. So I wanted to bring this to your attention and hope that you will get back to a way of doing business that we had in the past. I think it was overlooked by the Board of Finance, and because it wasn't in front of them at those subsequent years, that authority was forgotten about. Thank you.
Can you leave that with me, Sean? Can you leave that cover page with me?
Well, got a question. What year was that?
Ending in June 2019.
Do we even know if we had that authority really prior to that? Or did somebody just put that on there?
It's been on budgets up until then, and that's been procedure. That's been procedure, but
All I'm asking is, we need
Policy.
to find out that in fact is a stated policy. It might have been on there for years, but we might not have had that authority.
we're talking about a time that had no Board of Finance policies in writing.
Okay, I'm not denying that it's not a good idea. I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that we have that.
Yeah, regardless, by state statute, the legislative body should approve it. And it should be posted within so many days in the town clerk's office. And the people have a right to contest bargaining agreements within 30 days after they're posted with the town clerk. And that's been overlooked, I believe. I don't know whether the MOU was posted with the town clerk or not.
Sean, just so before you go, if there's a line item that's in the budget that requires some type of appropriation request, if you can't increase the salary without finding the money from somewhere. So they would have to come to the Board of Finance with an appropriation request to, in fact, increase that line item, would they not?
Well, the problem is it's been a regular occurrence that those were made at the end of the year.
End of which year? End of the calendar year?
That they took place in. Any overages were brought to for line item adjustments by the Board of Finance after the fact instead of, when it occurred.
I'm just saying, we do have some general oversight as to whether or not an appropriation is going to be made.
By state statute, it's only within a department. They have the flexibility within moving from within the department, say from office supplies to another, service contracts or whatever's under that department. That authority is already given by statute to be able to do that. So it's not a statute thing about this labor lines, that it's just been a policy that we've had for a long time. And what you've given up is the flex. Now that they've already been paid this increase, you've given up the flexibility at budget time about the labor lines. You really can't, unless you're ready to go back and reverse somebody's salary.
Understood.
So you're giving up flexibility.
All right, well, I'll address it with the first selectman when he gets up here into the hot seat. Sure. Seems like when things aren't done the way they were done when Nick was first selectman or Sean was the first selectman, people get upset because we're not doing things the same way. As Sean admitted that was in 2019, I was not the first selectman. I've never seen that on the budget. Maybe it was on the budget in 2017 and 18 when I was not the first selectman. But to be honest with you, when we did the salary survey and we wanted to institute, I think the last pay period, we could go tomorrow, was the first payment they made. These are not large payments. They'll include the July bump. That's part of the upcoming negotiations. And we will have money in the budget because of the money we saved on the assessors line that we are tracking these. And the minute we look like we're going to go over, we're going to come to the Board of Finance and say, I'm moving appropriation just like we will with the snow removal. We're never going to move appropriation for that to move over. So I guess he's assuming we're not tracking this. We're not on top of this, and we are. And we knew they had money to do it. And he is correct that during the negotiation with the union, after we cut 2 union jobs out, and we'll go at later on in this meeting, how we saved the town probably $127,000 in monies because we cut these 2 union jobs. The union wasn't happy about that. And they said, well, what will you do for us? So what we'll do is we'll do a salary survey sometime during the year and see what we can, if our people are paid correctly. So I apologize that we're not doing it the way that Sean did it or the way that Nick did it. I guess we're doing it the way that Mike did it. And that's what I inherited. I didn't know any differently. If you want to take that back, starting with this budget, so going forward, you have that power, that's fine. I mean, to me, it's just, was trying to make a good executive decision with the finance officer saying, we said we'd do a salary survey. We stood behind our word. We sat down with employees. We're talking maybe 6 or 7 employees, and we gave them those increases starting last Thursday. I know there's going to be enough money saved in the assessors line that will cover that, but we'll come to you when we think that they're going to be getting to go over what was budgeted, and we'll ask for that appropriation and line item transfer from one department to another. So I hate to say, it almost sounds like something nefarious is being done, and if that's the case, I apologize, but it wasn't intentional. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Hi, Judy Main. Okay. There's been a lot of discussion about transparency at several meetings, which I fully agree with and support. Therefore, I would like to ask for something to be added to a future agenda item. I'm not sure if this would be the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance. I know the Board of Finance worked diligently on a memorandum of understanding for 501c3s. While I don't have a copy of the memorandum of understanding, I have listened to the bullet points. We made a payment to a 501c3 in the amount of $8,000 for gap funding through an appropriation of public funds. During the October 7th meeting at the 5317 mark, and I quote, "So I understand that, but you will then take the funding, if there's any funding, and determine how you are going to spend it and report back to us." Again, at the 5355 mark, and I quote, "So if you're willing to help us, I would like to keep the funds for the people of North Stonington." The last quote that I would like to mention is at the 5612 mark. The money will also be mentioned, will also be used to, the money will also be used to go into a fund where my board and I can decide when we're low on certain hot topic items that are in our store and purchase as needed. My concern is we're in a very tight tax season and we made a payment in the amount of $8,000. To my knowledge, this 501c3 has yet to reopen and has not used those funds to help the residents of North Stonington as intended. Is it possible to add an agenda item, this 501c3, so that the taxpayers can see what happened with their tax dollars according to the Board of Finance's memorandum of understanding? This would also help residents get an understanding of the status of this 501c3. If this is not going to be an active 501c3, the monies paid should be returned to the town, and maybe others can step in free of charge to get this program running again for the residents of North Stonington who are truly in need, which there is a need, as pointed out during the many presentations given by the 501c3.
We can add that to a future agenda item if that's what if that's fine with you, Judy.
Yes, please. And thank you.
Any additional public comment?
I have a comment about the Wheeler Library, but unless you want to wait till that discussion.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think that the cost analysis information should have been available to the public before the referendum was created. There's a lot of cost items on there that I think the public is not aware of. When I looked at it today, I saw that the cost of that HVAC system annually is almost double what it is now for oil. And it also, in addition to that, it's $78,000 a year for maintenance. So my concern is, where is all this money going to come from? When we did have that hearing and we didn't have any of this information available and we couldn't ask any questions, I asked because I brought up that we're spending we're giving $100,000 to the library now, and if their costs increase, where do they expect them to come from? And the answer I got was from the town. So anyway, that's my comment. I don't even think it should go to referendum because people are uninformed, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I see Gary Nino's on. Gary, we had Carl seated for you. Are you participating as a member? And I can
Yep, unseat Carl. I got it, Carl. Thank you.
unseat Carl.
He was doing so, all right, I'm leaving.
Donna. I don't see any hands, so.
Okay. Hello.
Got
Can you
it.
hear me?
I do.
Okay. So, just having a little bit of a heart attack around the reevaluation and the mill rate. And I figured out my reevaluation wrong. And that's on me. So I did percentage difference and I was at 56. I'm like, okay, I'm cool. I'm good. I'm under that 60% mark. But when I evaluated for percentage increase, I'm at 78. And that's what I think people should know, is that percentage increase is what will determine their evaluation. And it's technical, right? Like I live in a village and I did a village a text and people are like, what's a grand list? I mean, it's just interesting to what people know and don't know. So it's an educational experience. And I'm on the Board of Finance trains now, and I've watched all the previous meetings. And I guess where I'm landing is with the undesignated fund, because in my household, we have an undesignated fund as well. And that is for items that are unplanned, unexpected, and unavoidable. And I think that language needs to be framed around the undesignated fund. And it was interesting because I went to the library, and I'm a supporter of the library, but I do agree with John Olson, who said that it needs to be equitable. There needs to be parity. So I do agree with that. And I guess when there was talk about using undesignated funds for the library, I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And then when it came to this America 250 celebration and using undesignated funds for that, and it had nothing to do with the party planner or all of that. Quite frankly, I don't think we should be celebrating anything America based on this president that we have. That's just that's my thing.
But we don't need to we don't
Okay.
need to go there. We really don't need to go there.
Okay,
Okay?
whatever.
Right.
No, not whatever.
So it's my opinion, and what I'm saying is, I didn't realize that that fund could be used for things that were unexplained, unexpected, and unavoidable. And I think that we need to have that framing in the policy.
It is in the policy, but now it's in the policy.
Is it clear? Because how is it
But
unexplained?
John, I think if you polled everybody on this board, the policy speaks for itself that it is supposed to be for unexpected, force majeure, events that could cost millions of dollars to fix, like a bridge goes out, and that is generally what it's for. At the same time, and at times where there's an overage, it's for debt reduction and for mill rate
Correct.
stabilization or reduction. And generally speaking, we tried to very ardently stick to that policy. But at the end, it is the taxpayers' money, and if we decide that it's going to go to a vote on something whereby they want to take an appropriation, we're going to leave it to the legislative body to make that decision if that's the way we feel. But I would like to think that we all agree with you that this is what it is for. But with regard to, and if people wanted a party and wanted to use the undesignated fund for it, they would have been voted that way, but it didn't go.
But that's what I'm saying. The policy there should be more guardrails, because it shouldn't be, if the people want a party, they should be able to use the undesignated fund. Or if there's a line item, it needs to be more restrictive. Again, it's a rainy day fund. It's not a slush fund. There's a difference. My 2 minutes up, I know, but I just wanted to give you my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have, John Gatchon, I have a question. During the town meeting, to Pat's comments, there was a packet put out, and I was sent to it today, or sent it to me today by Pat. The copy's lurking out. Is there any way that we can get that? You were going to put it on minutes. Is there any way we can get it and maybe get it to the town clerk or to Jen and get it posted on the website? And then maybe they'll see what she's talking about, because it was that packet that Winona had brought up on the cell phone to her that she didn't see. And maybe if we get that posted under the town website and not rely on the library, so we're covering all of us, that it's out there and people could see it, maybe that would alleviate some of these questions and concern. Not the budget one, the one that came out in October that had, I mean, I have a picture of it. If you guys are good with it, I will send it to her, because I got sent a copy of it today.
And to be clear, that I didn't disseminate anything. That was at the meeting that was on the screen. In the October 15th meeting that was on the screen, and that was handed out in person at the Board of Finance meeting on October 15th.
No, I understand that, and I'm not saying, but what they're saying is some people haven't got a hold of it. They don't know where to get it. They have reached out to other people to try to get it. So I'm not saying you did anything wrong. You put it out there that it was at a meeting, and that's great. So if we cover it this way and put it on the town website with both the Board of Finance, and I'll talk to the first selectman, and we put it on there, then people can go see it. They don't have to worry about being at the library on the 7th.
Send it to the Board of Finance. It's just the email to the Board of Finance, and Ed will get it on the minutes.
So Mike, you have it. We have it because it's from.
I'll refresh it and send it to you right now, Mike, via email.
I'm sure I have it in a ton of materials I have at home.
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now. I got a digital copy. I'll email it to you, and then we'll have it from there. You can forward it to whoever you want. And then
I think if it's going to go on the town website, just run it by the library before it goes on the town website, just to make sure that they know it's the copy. And
all right, I'll talk to them tomorrow.
I'll review
and get that permission.
We'll review it to make sure it's the one that we received, and it can go on our minutes because it was from that meeting.
Okay.
If there's been any adjustments or anything like that, then
yes,
I don't want to put something on the town website that isn't
Well, I'll
accurate.
talk with them first and show them the presentation tomorrow so we can get it out there. as soon as
That'd be
possible.
perfect.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, John.
There's a number of pages at the back of that was an appendix that had like engineering pictures as well. So there's like a number of extra pages that haven't been added on to our minutes.
All right, well, whatever John's gonna send to us, you'll get a copy of that, as a member of the Board of Finance and just take a look at it, Winona, and make sure it's the one you want. Gary?
If you review the meeting minutes when the library presented, we asked that all the information they presented to us be available to the public to help them get consensus if they wanted to carry this vote. So this is the library's to deliver. Thanks.
Yep. So I'll reach out to Kate Parento tomorrow to make sure she gets in touch with you. John, is that okay? Any further public comment? Okay. All right, correspondence is our fourth agenda item. Shit. This probably is going to come up, several times tonight, but I've been in touch with Jen Lineweaver regarding the solar exemption. And I've also been in contact with Greg Howard on what the legislature is doing about it. And trying to figure out at the same time, what exactly have we been getting for tax revenue from these solar farms in actuality that may or may not have to do with the assessment. And I'm frankly, I'm still not exactly positive. All I know is that the presentation that we received from Jen when she provides a net grand list is, to her credit, it's a conservative net grand list that says, all right, these are the properties that are either, we know they're exempt or based upon a new statute is what happened, became exempt mistakenly by the legislature. So we have existing solar farms that we've been collecting taxes either by agreement or we've been assessing them, but they haven't paid because they're in litigation with us. And all that litigation is still ongoing, and all those assessments are ongoing. And one of the correspondents, I don't necessarily want to go into the litigation, but I got a better handle on it from Zane Ring, who's our tax collector. But the two of them are in litigation, or one of them's in litigation, one of them's just, I don't even know if they're even up and running yet. But one of them is by contract, and I think it's a tune of like $100,000 or something in that range that they pay versus being assessed at in the normal course. But according to Jen Lineweaver's first analysis, we're $16 million and change in the hole on our net grand list because that private property, which is the solar panels itself and all the equipment, had to be exempted from the tax rolls per the statute as of October 1st, 2025. They're not on the grand list. So that's the grand list that she submitted to the state. She immediately started working with Greg Howard and amongst other legislators to say, why would you do this when in actuality, the legislation was supposed to allow solar farms and arrays that were approved after July 1st, 2026 to be subject to a state generated, basically a payment in lieu of taxes. And thereafter, those ones would be removed from the grand list as of October 1st, 2026, and they'd never be on the tax rolls again. Here's the money you're gonna get. Almost like the money we get from the state or any other, intergovernmental things that we get. So the legislature has introduced a bill, and I talked to Greg Howard today, and that bill it's on the floor. He doesn't know necessarily when it's going to be voted on, but it essentially changes that October 1st, 2025 number to October 1st, 2026. And that's in subparagraph F. In subparagraph G, there's waiver information that those companies then have to apply for a waiver. And once that waiver is applied for, it's in perpetuity. So any new ones are going to be subject to that state-run tax. And what's that?
Tax or?
No, it's
not a tax.
What's it called?
Abatement.
It's not. They're already abated. It's a payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay.
Is the easiest way to think about it. And there's also a subparagraph that says that any assessor that has delivered their grand list, which has to be into the state by January 30th of this year, 2026, can send an amended grand list. So if soon as the state says, bam, we're approving this, and by all indications, it will be voted into being an actual law, then Jen can say, boom, the money's back on. So A, I'm monitoring that. B, I'm monitoring, how are we actually taxing these and how are we actually receiving them? But obviously we don't want to take a $16 million hit because that's roughly at today's mill rate, it's around 400,000. If you use the 19 and change mill rate, it's around 1/3 of a mill. So it's a big issue. And I promise you, I am absolutely on top of it, as is Jen Lineweaver, as is Bob, and as is our legislators. Gary?
How many, so this just gives me, I'm watching and I appreciate everybody involved. And this is the first time I've heard everybody's involved. How many towns do we know? Do we know of how many towns were impacted by this? Because that gives me sort of a wet finger in the air, directional. What our chances are of getting this reversed? That's the first question. And the other,
I believe it's around 6.
So 6 towns in the entire state of Connecticut were impacted by this error or omission, however we want to capture it. Okay, got that. And I sent a follow-up today asking for, rather than the net grand list change, break out the change in revenue. For me, that's important to us to know, because the solar field impact we can almost deal with internally based on options we have available. But I'd like to know how our revenue changed in a positive direction with the solar field aside. Thank you.
Agreed. And I am, one thing I'd like, does anyone have last year's grand list that Dale gave us that had the printout? I threw mine away. The old one? Yeah, I know. I had last year's book, and that's in here?
No, he's saying it's in the signature.
Yeah, I threw that out. Anyone, if anyone has
I don't think that's what it is.
It's online.
I know, the grant list is online, but all the paperwork that went with it, all the printout, like the old school computer printout. Because if you look at the present one,
I mean, I never throw anything away, so I have.
so the present one, there was two things that came from Jen Lineweaver. One was the memorandum that had kind of the breakdown, and then there was the raw data. And if you look at the raw data, kind of like, I think on the second page, the classification of residential, commercial, industrial, vacant land, use assessment, 10 mil forest and apartments. So at least if you want to look at the commercial and industrial and see what the difference between last year and this year, that could give us some indication of what the net gain was. And I know she said there were 16 new businesses on the grand list and 14 new homes. So without hopefully taxing Jen with that in mind, she is going to be on here on either Thursday or just Friday. On Friday, I'm going to see if she knows what the assessments are on those new homes, so we can get an exact one on that. And maybe if there's new businesses, what are the assessments on those new businesses? What?
I did ask her for that when she made her presentation,
Yeah.
so I don't have it. I'm not going to do it.
No, I asked for it also, and the answer was it would take a fair amount of work. Sorry, I raised my hand, so I'm going to lower it now because I kind of jumped in. I think it's an important element. It's foundational for us as the Board of Finance because it really is the one common metric that tells us basic things about how we're doing as a town. Do people want to move here? Do people want to have their businesses here? Do people want to educate their kids here? That revenue, we should see that because that tells us whether we're directionally correct or something is off and people are not wanting to put a stake in North Stonington. So if we could, it would be really nice if we could get that number. I know it's work. I apologize, but we should have it.
I don't disagree with you, and I'm gonna certainly try to work with Jen to get that, because not only, I agree with you there, that it is how we get the finger on the pulse of growth. Each year we were able to say, Darryl would come in and say, our grand list grew by 1%. But it was a lot easier in a non-reval year to do that. So, that's why I'm trying to look for that raw data from last year. And unfortunately, I cleared my book out. So if anyone has that from last year, then we can at least compare some numbers. And then maybe, if you think 14 new homes, and we can't really use the reval as a metric, but at least the new homes and the new businesses and any other information, we can get a number on what our growth was. Because not only is it important for what you talked about, Gary, but if we say, say this wasn't a reval year, and our revenue grows, whether it's by real property, private property, cars, and all the other revenue streams. If that is, $1 million higher than it was last year, then we know that that's kind of our net zero spot. If we want to maintain the mill rate, then you have $1 million to work with within the budget increases. Right, because we all know there's contractual arrangements and everything like that that raises the expense side. But if we want to, if we're, our goal is a kind of a net zero situation, then unless we have that information, knowing what that number is, you can't make that determination.
That organic growth. That's what.
The organic
defines the
growth.
Organic growth. In the
Correct.
budget. And.
Because you're not raising it by raising the mill rate.
Right. And you're right that it's going to be much easier without a reval. So we're kind of swinging at it now,
Yeah.
but
Okay, I'm definitely working on that with her, and I'll
So
do my best to get a number.
I just found my papers.
I knew you would.
What do you want me to, do you want me to like scan these in and email?
Yeah, scan them in and email them to me,
Okay, I'll do
and
that.
I'll try to do a rough analysis, and then I'll send them over to Lou because he's better with numbers.
Okay, I'll do that later.
Thank you.
Just one thing I want to add, Mike. Everything you said was accurate, other than, so year over year, by and large, the last 3 years, we've been able to keep the mill rate flat or thereabout. However, the town has been able to increase their budgets because they've consumed any additional revenue. And I've had a couple people reach out to me saying, hey, don't think you're fooling anybody. We know the budgets are going up, perhaps we could keep it flat or push them down if we didn't just consume the revenue increases. That's why I brought it up. Thanks.
Yeah, I get it.
I just want to make a point of clarification when you talk to her. She didn't say no. She said it wasn't her. Like it wasn't, she didn't generate that. So maybe we just find out who the person is.
Well, I've already reached out to Zane, so I'll use every resource that I can.
Okay.
Jen works part-time here and most time for Stonington. She is not just by my estimation, but by people who know, one of the best assessors in the state. So I'm sure she can help, along with me and whoever else I'm going to recruit to figure this out. So we have a good baseline. And to Gary's point, it's not like, hey, let's spend it. We just know that our goal is to not go over that amount of whatever the additional increase in revenue is. Whatever. So any further correspondence? Does anyone want to add any agenda items besides the junior meeting? Okay. Bob, John. Hey. It seems like everyone took their angry pills before the meeting started tonight. So, Ed, you're always in a good mood. But anyway, so I'm actually going to add a little anger myself. I was approached on Monday evening to had some pretty poignant questions about the budget, which is always odd since the Board of Selectmen hadn't reviewed the budget yet. The ones that had the budget were the Board of Selectmen, Susan Zarell, and the 8 members of the Board of Finance. Turns out that I know how it happened. I know who did it, and it's nobody here. Happened to send a copy of the budget out on Saturday morning to someone who's not a board member, not on any boards or commissions, who then told somebody else and told somebody else and told somebody else. The next thing you know, there's this underground discussion going on about the pay raises in town hall. This is before the Board of Selectmen even had a chance to talk about the budget on Tuesday, because we can't talk about it in emails, because if we do that, then we're talking about emails and we're doing it in a legal meeting. So on Tuesday, but on Monday, I'm getting questions asked about it at the town meeting. So I was curious. I'm just going to say that it's, once I email to you, it is public record. But I also say ethically, we should probably let the Board of Selectmen review it first and discuss it in open meeting before it goes to someone who's not on any board or commission, who then starts a backdoor conversation about it. Then I have to hear about it. So that was my angry pool. I'm not blaming anyone here. But luckily, it's just so you do know. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, especially since you took your mad pills, but the microphone is a little muffled. So I don't know if we can fix that before you get into the actual numbers of your budget.
If I go backwards, maybe, is that better?
We'll
Or
keep,
is it better if we go forward?
I
No,
don't,
backwards is better. Just a couple inches
Backward.
between you and the mic. Thanks, pal.
All right, that's better?
yes, that's better. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm just saying, if I email you a budget, I assume we'd like to talk about it first before it gets into the public, and then I hear through the back door asking a question that I haven't even discussed yet, so. And again, I'm not blaming anyone here or online, okay? I will say this, being the CEO of the town, I can look at any email because the town owns all the emails, and that's what I did. Thank you. So let's talk about the budget, because that's always a happy topic. So I want to talk with again, I'll start with the surveys. You'll see it in your packet. So why did this even come about? Why are we giving away money? Why are we paying our employees all this money and craziness, especially in a revalue act? So what happened is, as we alluded to earlier, that there was a negotiation as there is every 3 years. And the union said to us, yes, it should say the one says salary comparison after budget.
I just wanted to know that's where we're going to be in. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to do a couple of things before we get into the budget. So when we get there, you'll know I already explained it. So the union said, well, gee, you just cut 2 union jobs. And, you know, what are you going to do for the rest of the people that work here? And to Lou's point, you just proved my point, Lou. I have a part-time assessor who maybe couldn't get to everything we want to get to, because that's what we can afford to do. And I have a third-party IT group who works great. Matter of fact, I talked to the fire company, and they said that the fire company's IT has never been better since we've had Star Computer working with them. But I don't have the guy above me on the second floor that if my computer's off, he runs downstairs and fixes it. That's the way it works. But the good news is I don't have to pay medical. I don't have to pay retirement. I don't have to pay dental to the third party group. And they're doing a great job. So with that said, we looked at, how much money do we actually save by doing this? So I talked to Melissa, found out what would happen if our assessor and our IT person was still on the books right now. Look at the assessor, we're saving $30,731.11 on the assessor's salary as a part-time employee versus a full-time employee. We're saving $48,938.51 on fringe, which is medical and retirement. And the IT, it's about a wash between what Star Computer charged us and what we were paying our director of IT, but Star does not take the fringe. So it's another $48,155.18. So the town's saving $127,824.80 overall. So when the union approaches and says, what can we do? Well, I'm not going to take the whole 127, just give it away to people. And actually, we're not going to give it away. Myself and Suzanne are not going to say, well, this one should get this and this one should get that. Why don't we do the right thing and do a salary survey? So we talked to a company that just did one 4 years ago for Preston and Brooklyn. And we participated in that. So we remembered who they were. Randy Frank's the name of the company. And they went and they found 8 towns with similar population, similar size, similar income. And they compared our salaries against those salaries and to show us where we were. They first came and interviewed all employees, asked them what they did for their jobs and compared them to the job descriptions for each position. So we know we're getting apples for apples. If it wasn't apples for apples, then we couldn't make the comparison. So maybe on somebody, it might have been only 6 towns we could compare to, not all 8. When it was all said and done, we found that we were pretty much low on some of the areas. That's why you see the increases. I mean, they go all the way from $2,400 up to $9,300. We'll take the animal control officer aside for 1 minute. And that's because we're not going by personalities. We know that myself and Suzanne, people that work in town hall, know what we have for employees. We have great employees. But when you have great employees, people like to steal them. So you have to either try to keep them, or if you lose somebody, you have to try to get somebody. I remember having no planner for 12 months. I think we all remember having no finance department for 4 months, and some of the headaches that those things caused. We had part-time tax collectors, two in a row, that when we finally got a full-time tax collector, she spent almost a year cleaning up the mess. And we paid fines and late fees and everything else because we weren't getting things done.
all our employees are basically departments of one. So if we lose one person, we're losing a department. There's no assistant that just can jump in and do that job. It's not like if I leave, John can jump in a minute and do my job. But who's going to do the tax collector's job? We can't run the Yukon and say, who's graduating in tax collector school? Who's graduating in town clerk school? Nobody's going to school for those things. So we have to then look at our surrounding towns, because who wants to move across the state for $74,000? But we see the surrounding towns and say, hey, is there someone here that might be an assistant there that want to be a full-time person here or the head person here? And that's how we get our people. But in the same token, when we have good people like we do, and if they're underpaid and a job comes up in Stonington, the kind of job comes up in Ledyard, why wouldn't they at least go look at it? So it's important for our town. Right now, our town is so active. We got so much going on. I think when we do find the number, Mike, on our revenue without the reval, we're going to find that for the 5th year in a row, our revenue is going up pretty much. We just grabbed a permit check for the foundation for EB. It's over $56,000 just for the foundation. But the permit for the building is we're going to be getting shortly, and that'll be $275,000 for the permit for the building. Again, just the permits, no taxes, just permits. And then when all the subs start working there, like the HVAC, the plumber, the electrician, we'll be getting money from those permits. And then we'll start taxing the building, the 480,000 square foot building. So the town's running in pretty good shape. The third winery is going to be opening up sometime later this year. We know that homes are being built, mostly smaller homes, but there's some big homes that have been built. So the town's actually doing well. The schools are doing well. The town's doing well. And all this growth is happening where we want it to happen. Nobody's buying up a farm and putting a 50-house subdivision on it. So I'm proud of the way the town's working. But the one thing one of our biggest assets is our town employees. So we addressed that. We did the salary survey. I'm happy to say what we did. And you can see it in front of you. So basically, if we gave $54,000 back to the employees, and we saved $127,824, the net is we saved the town $73,031.95 after we gave the raises. We didn't give it all back, but I think we did the frugal thing. Make the employees happy, try to hang on to our employees and still save money at the same time. To me, that's good management. Next. Oh, by the way, attached to that sheet, you see it's 2 sheets. Gary, you have a quick question, Gary?
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to wave the flag. I come in peace. I did not take an angry pill tonight, so just bear with me.
No, it's including you with angry pills.
So,
I was talking about some of the stuff that was going on tonight.
Yeah,
But no.
I get it. The couple things. One is before we get off the raises that were given retrospectively, are just for my own education, not trying to peel the numbers apart, are they outside the annual 3% raise pool for this upcoming budget you're going to submit, or will they be?
These are outside. So what they are is the raises take place come July 1st. The contract, year 2 of the contract kicks in with I think it's 3% on the ASPEN union, which is the town hall union.
But
that 3% is shown in the numbers I gave you tonight. That 3% is in that number. These are the budget numbers.
So they got to raise midterm, and then by union requirements, they'll be up again.
July 1st.
Okay.
Yes.
Next, just blanket comment.
Stay on the salary for 1 second, because I just want to say this page that's stapled to this page is the current openings within the nearby. That's what that is. So you see there's other towns.
Okay, I was wondering what that was.
That's other towns looking for.
Winona and Gary, they weren't included in that, what John gave me to try to send to them. Do you have that one too? These handouts?
No, I can take pictures of them and email if you want.
I'm not losing any sleep. I'm here to listen, and until we get it all, then I'm going to sort of weigh in. But
okay, all right. So we can move on to whatever your next question was, Gary.
The other, just sort of an editorial comment. I agree with everything about the great and wonderful things in EB and cost of work and permits and all that stuff. But let's not count on anything until it actually hits the checking account. Okay.
But the first check has hit the checking account.
Good. Thanks.
That it? Okay, next. we know that the fire company had a large ask. And if you remember at the meeting, I asked that we're gonna have to talk about that ask as we did last year. So what I did was I had the chief come in, you'll see a thing that says MSVFC per diem hours. So, yes, so what we did was, I said to him, Chief, there's no way that the town can absorb $420,000 and all this 24/7 per diem. There's got to be a way we can do this through a time period. So what if we did I said there's 168 hours in a week. We're already supporting you for 50 hours, Monday through Friday, 10 hours a day. That leaves 118 hours left in the week that are non-supported. If we went a third, and a third, so basically 40, 40, and 38. If we gave you 40 hours this year, treat it kind of like we do the budget. I mean, the capital, 40 hours this year, 40 hours next year, 38 hours next year. We eventually get to where you want to go, but we don't have to absorb this thing in 1 year. So what I did was we compromised on the 40 hours, so we went from 50 hours to 90 hours. I said to the chief, take those 40 hours and you use them where you think they're best spent, but then we'll take the other 78 hours that we're not covering, and your volunteers are going to have to cover those hours, as they do today. Eventually, we may have to have a bigger discussion well after I'm going about full-time fire companies, satellite, whatever it happens to be, but right now, this might be the best solution without paying what we would have to pay for a full-time fire company. So I'm just trying to mend it, bring it in over 3 years period of time. Okay, so now we can, if you look at the page I had, has the selected reductions. We can start looking at the budget. So everything's lined up in numerical order. Goes along with the budget. This is what last night, we reduced our budget by $358,712.16. You'll see that, started with the grant writer. That's, we took that, we reduced that by $2,500. Travel recognition by $5,000. It was 30, we brought it down to 25. EDC operating expense, $3,111. Rec maintenance expense by $1,000. Medical insurance by $40,665. Welfare, $1,499. Protect a neighborhood, which asked for $40,000. We dropped it to $35,000, which is where they were the last 2 years. Child and Family Agency, they asked for $5,000, but this is the first time they've ever asked us. So I thought this isn't a good year to bring on new 501c3s. We'll wait a year and they can come back next year and ask us again. Selectmen Engineering, it was $2,500. We dropped it to $1,500. Per diem staffing, I just went over. Town road maintenance, $110,000. So if you look at 2702 in your budgets. So you'll see a 2701 and a 2702, state aid improved town roads. What that is, that's a grant from the state for $318,000. And that went up from last year by $79,802. The other maintenance, town road maintenance, was $160,000. We took $110 out of it. Why do we do that? That's taxpayer money. So we said, why don't we just use the state money first? I said, Alan, if you didn't have that 160, do with the 160. Well, I spent $50,000 buying sand and salt, and the other ones I chip seal probably at least one, if not two roads, maybe one road and one short road. So can the town go a year without chip sealing those two roads? The roads are in pretty good shape. This is a tough year with the reval. It's a tough budget to start with. Can I cut 110 out? You can still have the 50,000 for sand and salt, but I can cut the 110 out. We can use the state money first, the free money that we get from them, and take that burden off the taxpayer, at least for this year. Now, maybe next year we're going to have to do 3 roads, but this year we want to do these road and a half or 2 roads. So that's why after that discussion with him, we were able to do that. He said to me, take 20,000 out of the snow, which you think I'm crazy. but I'm gonna gamble that we're not gonna have a year next year like we had this year. 3 years in a row, we actually gave money back in snow removal. Last year, we had to add some in. This year, we're gonna have to add a lot, and there should be appropriation coming up down the road a bit, I'm sure. After that, Man Hill Valley is a fairly new ask for $3,500. This is Long Pond on Lane Hill Road. We own 1 mile of Lane Hill Road. The first mile is owned by Legend, then we own a mile, then Legend owns some, and Stonington owns some. Long Pond in the state boat launch happens to be in North Stonington. They're asking Legend for $3,500, but that's us for $3,500. And they say, well, ask us to go next year because this is not a good year for new asks. Eastern Connecticut Conservation, I looked through their paperwork. I couldn't really determine what benefit North Stonington got from Eastern Connecticut Conservation. Three Wise Women asked for $1,500. We dropped it to $1,000, got $500. Sorry. Was that call for intention? KNSA. So this is one that's going to probably be getting me in a hot seat with somebody. I took the $1,000 out of KNSA, and I'll tell you why. I know they have a $500 to keep North Stonington affordable. They have a $500,000 grant they just got, supposedly. They had it, they lost, I think they got it back. But in the 7 or 8 years they've owned the schoolhouse in Clocks Falls, in the 3 or 4 years they've owned the double lot on Trolley Lane, nothing has happened. So when we're giving them $1,000 each year, I'm thinking just like, show us something, right? And then we can put the $1,000 back in maybe next year. Again, it's not a anti-affordable housing statement. It's just like show us the money, basically. Show us what you're doing, and it hasn't been done yet. So hopefully, with this $500,000, they get it. And if they're $1,000 short, they come to me, and I'll come to you. Okay.
Hey, Bob, sorry.
Yes.
I warned you about this way back when under another topic. I'm not supportive of these items going in the budget at a $1 item so that we can appropriate later. You got us this year, and that's all fair and legal, but they're either in or they're out. That's just my perspective. The rest of the board can weigh in. But
that was kind of a lighthearted statement, and I made it. That's all. Sorry.
Yep.
So while we're on 501c3s,
when we're on that,
sure.
Gary, I think what you're referring to is some of the items that are in there that they don't even have anything on there. There's $0
because they've been on before, but I took them out completely.
We should just cross them off so that they can't come back.
Well, what happens from an accounting point of view, that if they did come back 3 years from now and they really had a good case to come back,
yeah,
it's in the yeah, but I'm thinking of the what's it?
It's in the accounting system.
What's the accounting we use?
On the ledger?
QuickBooks. It's in the QuickBooks ledger. So it's easier to do that than keep adding numbers. Sorry about that.
But sorry to respond to both of you. If it's less than $20,000 and you have softness in your budget, you can give them money and not have to come back to us. And I don't think that's right. So they're either in or they're out. But putting functions in at $1 or at $0 and then appropriating mid-year or sending money mid-year because they're in the budget but at $0 or $1, out of bounds, Bob. Clean that up. I'm not falling for it again. Sorry.
Got it.
Bob, if I could just clarify that.
Yes.
With the QuickBooks system, they can maintain their QuickBook number. It's just they shouldn't be listed.
Well, we just can't put somebody else in there with that same number.
What I'm suggesting is you just put nothing in there. For example, the New London Hospitality Center is the second one, and there's nothing there. So that line just should be blank. Don't even have it on there. It should still be in the QuickBooks system. So if they ever do come back, you can just bring it back up. But if you leave that in there, and the other ones that are in there that have no money, it does open the door to what happened.
Well, again, I totally agree with Gary's point. I think that was a ploy that was probably badly played. But I think that I agree with this point. If they should maybe be in there with $0, not $1. But even if they're doing $0, there should be not any way you could appropriate funds for someone that's in there at $0.
The thing is that 0 is a number. So they can't, if they're in.
So you want to eliminate them out of the budget.
Yeah,
completely.
that would end the issue, but
So we can probably do that. I talked to Melissa tomorrow. We can get rid of all the zeros. How's that? It'll actually make me one less page of the budget. Doing it that way.
We'll call it a cost savings on paper. Go for it, Bob.
Just blew the budget on paper tonight. If you were here, you'd see.
I'm surprised I'm asking this before Winona, but I was trying to follow along in the printed version of the budget and it doesn't match. Not all the line items match your reductions. Is it, maybe this is just,
What do you mean?
so like if I look at town maintenance, town road maintenance, you still have it at 160,000.
Oh, are you looking at the wrong one? Maybe you're looking at the first version.
So is it
Is
draft,
there a
is it
different
second draft that we're supposed to be looking at?
Did you say you should be looking at the second draft? That's when all the cuts. If it says first draft, that's where with no cuts.
Yeah.
So the
This
one
is
we
the
gave
version I
you,
have.
because last year, the year before, I think we said, let's start with the one with no cuts, so you see where we started from. On the bottom, lower bottom,
I
it should
don't
say,
have your light blue
on,
one. So I don't-
so the very low right-hand corner should say second draft or first draft.
It does say first draft. This
Yeah,
is-
so
this
you
is
should
the
be looking at
packet.
second draft.
I don't have, I don't, this is,
no, that's the other one. That's what you want.
yeah, I,
Oh, Sarah, it's right there.
Okay, I've dazzled you with too much paperwork. I get it. Sorry, Sarah.
no, I'm
You
glad
should,
I
you should
asked.
see when I was putting
Just
it
for
all together.
housekeeping, Bob, housekeeping, you have another thing that's attached with it.
That's for later, that's for the very end. Is that the one on the, that's, got like a 3.44 interest increase? That's my last final shot at the end.
Okay.
Thank you. I know there's too much for tonight, but we're doing this in one night. The next time I'll come with just one budget, I promise, not all these examples. Because you've already got all these examples, so anyway. So let's get back. So the 501c3, I just want one night to perform, so leave me alone. So the 501c3s, you guys asked me to put out the policy you guys have. We sent it to every, Jen did it. She sent it to every 501c3s with a nice letter. I think I sent it to you saying, hey, we're in a tough year. The Board of Finance just came out with this MOU. We'd like to have you send us whatever's missing from the original ask. We've got the first one back. He's got it in a manila envelope over there. It's the fire company. It was the first one walked in with their new packet. So when you go through that, I have not looked at it, Mike. I gave it to you. You can make copies if you want for the Board of Finance. But that's the first return we had from that ask on all the things that you asked with your policy.
Can't wait to look
I
at it.
think actually, three wise women with the original ask had all the things in it, but this is the first one for the new ask. All right,
Unredacted.
huh? Next. Attorney fees on land use, we looked at that and we have not spent anywhere near the attorney fees in the last 3 years on land use attorneys, so we dropped it. We also dropped advertising because we're trending on our P and L very low. John brought this to our attention last night so we dropped that by 2,000. WPA miscellaneous planning, we dropped by 1,000. The water sewer analyst, who's a wonderful gentleman, but even he sometimes feels guilty if he's not, well, he doesn't want to get paid if he's not working, obviously, and if there's nothing to do, he won't come in, which is, I'm glad he likes to do that. He doesn't come in just to sit there and get a paycheck. So we dropped that by 2,000. And then the affordable housing kind of falls on the same thing as KNSA. There's been nothing done. They haven't had a meeting in 6 months. So why am I going to fund a group that has not met in 6 months? So I dropped that to 0.
The water sewer analyst in graph 2 is at $1,500 reduction in the budget.
Let's just say that again. Oh, we dropped it. Okay, since I have a wrong in my head, that was an afterthought. Yeah, we dropped it by 1,500. Sorry about that. So it might be another 500 in this 358,712. All right, so that's our reductions. That brought us down to a number I'm not happy with.
And so
And
Bob,
num-
just to be clear, this reduction of 358 is from your V1, correct?
358,71216 from the
Yeah,
from
that's from your-
draft 1, draft number 2.
Okay, so that's your change from the version 1 though, correct?
That's right, correct.
Okay.
So then there's a couple of areas in, this is where this last budget comes in. There's 3 lines in this budget that add up to, we'll say it's $299,000. There's a separate sheet on this. There's budget increases, notes. So state aid, town road, we're gonna get $319,000, which is an increase of $79,839 on the revenue side. It's also $318,985 with a $79,802 in the expense side. So it's a net plus for the taxpayer of $37. Tipping fees, we're getting revenue of $344,252.80, which is $94,258 increase. And on the revenue side, the expense side, it's $405,362, which is an increase in expenses of $119,362. So that's actually a net $25,000, $25,104 net loss to the taxpayer. The last one is the school maintenance. Well, last year we took the school maintenance $100,000, and actually we're doing well with that. It's trending well. Our guys like Alan and Phil are looking at things. We're getting more quotes. We're getting things done fixed less expensively. And I think we're getting them fixed well, so they're not breaking as often because we got our eyes on it. So that was a good decision to do that. This year we said, well, we'll also consider taking some of your maintenance contracts, which was $114,000. And I said, we'll take $100,000 this year and we'll see about next year. After I saw my initial budget, I talked to Troy and said, Troy, I'll tell you what, if my budget doesn't look good, and I don't see very clearly on the Board of Education side that 100,000 came out. So if I'm putting 100,000 in, the taxpayer better see the 100,000 out and not feel like you filled it with another teacher, another program, playground, whatever it happens to be. That has to be very clear. So we need transparency, and also if my budget doesn't look good, that 100,000 is going back to the other side of the street, at least for this year. We can talk about it again next year. So those 3 line items has an increase to the budget of $300,000, $299,164, but the taxpayer is only getting hit for $25,067. And I talked to Sean about it before the meeting. There's nothing I can do about that. There's like, I can't say to everybody that's going to vote, oh, by the way, this 300,000 is really not there, 275,000 it's not there. So my budget, which is 810 today, and it's not going to be there after I'm sure it'll go down again. 810 today would be down to 3.55% increase without this $299,000. If I took that, if you turn the page from that one cover page, you'll see that's the call of the town meeting for last year, where we said, question number 1, will the town accept a budget that totals the government budget, the long-term debt, and capital? Will the town accept a budget of $8,150,298? If my budget didn't have that 300 in there, my budget this year, if you turn the page, would actually be $8,047,276. It would actually be lower this year. Are asking the taxpayer for less money this year than we did last year because we dropped capital. And if that 300,000 wasn't in there, we'd actually be asking for more money, or less money than we did last year, which basically is a net zero increase. But I can't find a way. There's 4 lines in revenue. It needs the rec department, LoSiP, which both have very small increases, town aid road, and tipping fees. I can't find a way to take it out of revenue and take it out of expenses because the residents vote on expenses. But it's there. I can tell the story at the public hearing and tell the story at the town meeting, but I can't be in the voting booth or every voter explaining this to them. So I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm looking on paper, the facts are the facts. We're actually coming in on question number 1 lower than last year, but it doesn't look like it because I can't take the money out of revenue. So I guess we'll have more of this discussion next Monday when we review my budget, but that's where we are.
I think what you've explained to us today, if that could be included, or maybe even, I think we did this you did this last year with taking over the maintenance. You had some notes below to show that. And that I think would be a good thing to do, is to put on this what you have here. And that way, I think people can, honestly, I think they'll be able to figure that out.
One thing I can do is if we can't find a way, I can still take that 100,000, which takes it from 300 to 200, take the 100,000, give it back to the other side of the street, there's a 100. And I could take the $80,000 in state aid road and say, Alan, only spend up to that, but don't spend that extra 80,000. Then I could take it out of expenses. That's 180 that could come out of expenses.
This is just my opinion. I feel really good that the town has taken over the responsibility of the buildings. And the more responsibility we can get on that, the better I feel, because of the way it's getting done. And I've got a lot of confidence in how that happens.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to backpedal on that.
I agree with what Lou was saying, but, I'm just going to change channels for a second. We really need that number as far as the revenue increase. Cause Bob, what you're saying sounds great, but without understanding the true impact between the town and the school, we can't understand the ability to absorb it without knowing what the revenue increase was. Pure revenue increase was.
I know. I have the hard copies too. And then unfortunately for us, last year was Darrell was still the assessor. I think we had 3 or 4 versions of that copy because there was a mistake made, and then there was the thing with the automobile tax, and that was redone. And
Yeah, Winona got me what we had last, so.
okay, so you have
I
that,
have it.
so you can kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at the last 4 consecutive years when we had no reval, how we jumped in revenue each of those years, it
A little over 1%.
it trended, and I can't imagine it. We need the facts. I get it, Gary. You want to see it on paper, but I can't imagine we didn't. There's nothing changing. Things kept coming in. Businesses came in. We know we had 16 new businesses. I'd say some of those were probably in-house businesses, which probably didn't pay a lot of taxes. But we know that there's big businesses coming in. So
No. But it financially, and it's a sports term, so nobody online take offense. But I need to know what's the fine line between blood and no blood as far as taxpayers having to give.
understood.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
So that's my presentation. Any questions?
So I think we're supposed to be holding our questions for Monday. Is that right?
Okay, but if you have one now that I could answer, I'd be glad to do it.
Well,
I'll be here Monday too, though.
yeah, so I'm not going to be at Monday's meeting, unfortunately, but I did have a couple of questions on the revenue side.
Sure.
The telecom revenue share state in lieu of
A313.
A313 is down $5,000.
Right, so that is something we get from that's a report we get from Connecticut. So if it's down that's what we're working off the governor's proposed budget, which is what we always do. It changes. Last year, we if you remember, on the ECS funding, we thought we were down 96,000. And then when the legislature closed their session, it went back up 96,000, but our budget had already been finalized. So it's a $96,000 windfall, which we'll see in the next audit. But yeah, so that's part of a grouping of numbers we get from the state. Winona?
So it just is what it is. That's just what
It is what it is, similar to ECS and National Target Pequod Fund, LoSiP, those things.
And then there's a new line item, sorry, and I'm looking at my file, not yours. Special ed and expansion development, an additional 13,730. It's like maybe A3.22 or something.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, that was something new the governor put. It's on that same sheet. I think you might even have that sheet in your packet. If not, I'll get it to you. That was in the proposed governor's budget on special education. We didn't get a big number. I mean, I'm sure Bridgeport got probably 3 million. We got 13,000, but it's not shared equally. But that's a new number from the governor's budget.
Okay, so that's just new special ed from the state.
Doesn't mean it's going to be there in another month or two, but it's there now.
Okay. And then let's see. Bottle bill proceeds.
Yeah, so every 6 months, the NIPS.
Yeah.
So the NIPS,
Oh no.
you're off.
Sorry. What happened?
No, not you.
Bob is off with the big one.
No, you know,
I guess I went off, maybe the battery's running down. I talked too long. But so a few years back, the state wanted to get rid of NIPS, and the lobbyists for the liquor stores said, instead of doing that, why don't we give you like 5 cents per bottle that comes out of the distributor. So we get that 5 cents for every bottle that comes out of the distributors to the 2 liquor stores we have in North Stonington. And that adds up to somewhere around, it could be $5,000 or $6,000 per payment. We usually get maybe 2 payments a year. So that's where that money comes from. But unfortunately, that money also has a very limited use. So I can only use that money for things at the transfer station, for running an Earth Day program, those kind of things that they can't be used to pay off debt or using any other line item. So it's almost like the opioid funds. So something that it's very restricted on how I can spend those funds.
so do we not have, okay, so wait a minute, what?
So the reason it went from 20 to 0, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So Melissa took it out of the budget completely, since we can't spend the money on pretty much anything except for those things that wouldn't be budgeted for, like I said, a special event or something at the transfer station. So
Okay.
since it's so, she also, you'll see that she took the opioid funds out of the budget also.
Okay, because it's not like general spend. Okay, got it. All right. That makes sense. And I think you addressed most everything else. The quarterly newsletter
I have
is
a
going
question.
up like 8%. Is that just general costs?
Say that again?
The quarterly newsletter expense went up
That's-
8%.
Yeah, that's because the printing has gone up in price over time, and everyday direct mail has gone up in price every time the postage goes up. So if we want to keep that newsletter, it's going up every year for the last 4 years. I think it used to be around 4,500. Now it's up to where it is now, roughly 8,000. So God bless you. So I really think it's just whether the town wants to keep it or not. So that's why it's in there, and it's a small increase from last year because of postage and printing.
Postage and printing. Okay. All right, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Winona.
Your microphone.
Is it low? Take the one next to you, the other one.
There we go. I think it's working. Is that working?
Yeah.
We're comparing last year's budget to the proposed budget for this year.
Mhm.
And obviously not for tonight, but if we can identify, or if you could identify any big discrepancies between what we budgeted for last year and where we are in actuality.
So when I sit down with Suzanne and we go through the budget, we meet weekly to go through the budget.
Mhm.
We're looking, we always have the latest P&L sheet next to us. And we're looking at how are we trending? Are we trending high, trending low? If we spent 25%, but we should be at 75%, that type of thing.
Right.
So we're constantly doing that, Lou. So there's nothing that actually jumped out at me except for a snow removal. But that's jumping out at me the wrong way. But for the most part, that's part of the whole budget building process. So, so when she comes down, we'll go through it and go line by line.
That's great. I mean, if there's nothing, wonderful. That just means.
Nothing, like I say, except snow removal, which
Except for
jumped
snow.
up, not down.
Okay.
But, so, I mean, there's things right now, that's why we lowered advertising and the land use attorney fees, because of that was pointed out that they're not trending. Right now, through December, we're exactly 2/3 of the way through. So everything should be at 6,666.
Yep.
But if something's at 25%, we know it's not trending high enough. Or if something's at 85%, we know it's trending over. And that's what I'm doing with those salary lines now that Sean brought up earlier. We're watching those lines. So when they get close to being over, I'll be coming to the Board of Finance and saying, hey, we got this money in the assessor's office, and can we move it over and take care of these other ones?
Okay, thank you.
And I, by all means, put that note if you want back on the budget. I never saw that note that Sean brought up, but I'm not opposed to you taking that back, that authority back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
Bob, can I ask a quick question?
of course.
So I wasn't on the Board of Finance when we were talking about the senior center coordinator. I
Yes.
remember hearing about that,
Yeah,
watching the meetings.
Let's talk about that for a
Do you
minute.
mind breaking that down just real quick so I can?
I'd love to, because we just got done at the Board of Selectmen meeting last night, finalizing the director's job description, which we're going to post at the end of this week or beginning of next week, the times